Hi everybody, Sean Holsinger here from holsingersflyshop.com, bringing you another fly tying video. If you were at the symposium this winter in Lancaster, new venue at Lancaster, we were there. The shop was there, set up, selling our items and stuff, and I was set up tying. And if you was there and you saw me, I was tying this fly all weekend long. I was tying my glass bead stonefly. It's a pretty cool looking pattern that I came up with one day. I had some beads from, if you remember watching my glass bead sucker spawn pattern, I had beads left over and I was trying to figure out what to do with them, and this is what I come up with. So let's get into tying the glass bead stonefly. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to tie this on a 1770 Daiichi swimming nymph hook. This has a very drastic curve with a big wide hook gap. I was using 1870s at the show, and one of the guys come up and said, here, try these out. There were 1770s, which has the wider hook gap, which I like a lot better. What we're going to do is we're going to start out with that. For a bead, I'm going to use a 5/32 bead, a gold one, and then for the glass beads I'm using are these check glass beads. I bought these at Hobby Lobby. I found them at Michael's, a variety of different colors. Here's some of the different colors that I have: purples, blues, browns, golds, just a whole variety of different colors. And I like to play around. I've tried a couple different colors with it, made a couple different color combinations, some really good looking flies. So what I did is, for this one I'm tying on a size 10. I've been tying them on size 10s and size 8s. This one is a size 10 and I'm using 5 glass beads on it. The 8 I was using 4. And we're going to start our thread out here. And for the thread I'm just using 140 denier cream. I've also used black with this yellow one. These are yellow beads, and I've used black so the black shines through and it makes a nice rib. I just didn't do it on this one, I don't know why. But what I'm going to do is make a nice little ball back here, and the ball is going to serve two purposes. I'm going to make the ball big enough that it A, splays out the biots that we're going to use for the tail, and B, most importantly, when I bring the glass bead, you see there it fell over the glass bead, it's going to hold the glass bead in place. So I need to build this ball up bigger until it is a stopper for that glass bead. So it can't go past that. So we'll just put a couple more wraps on here. Oops. Alright, now once I get it to where it won't go past it, I'll bring it back, trim this off here, and then we're going to put our biots on for a tail. And this is the same biots that we used on our stone prints pattern and a lot of my stone flies. I'm just going to use 2 biots. These are yellow to match the yellow stone fly I'm tying. And we're just going to hold it on the side. We're going to do one at a time, holding it on the side, and you're seeing that I'm following the profile of the hook. I want this to be a pretty long fly. Some of the stone flies are pretty big in our area, so this is imitating one of the bigger ones. I keep dropping my biot. Okay, and then we're just going to hold this on the other side and make them the same length. And then we're just going to wrap it back towards that ball. So when we get it wrapped back there, you can see that it splays the tail out real nice for us. Then I'm going to cover these biots down with thread, so it builds a little bit of body here that will hold the beads in place. And then I'm going to come up and just wrap some thread up on here, like I said, just so the beads don't slide around as much. Don't build it up too big or your beads won't slide over it. Then I'm going to finish that off real quick so I can move the beads back and bring the thread in front. So we'll just slide the beads back over. And now we have the back end built. So now I'm going to put some lead wire. The lead wire is going to hold all our beads in place and give it some weight, because I'm a big nymph fisherman and like weight on my flies. So I'm just going to wrap this up pushed back against the beads here, and I'm going to put a good many wraps on it because you're not really getting much weight out of that glass, and I'm not using a tungsten bead. So I'm getting probably 15-20 wraps easy on here. Oops. Alright, and then I'm going to push that back tight into those beads and tear our lead off. Now I'm going to cover this up with thread so it don't go anywhere, and as I'm covering it, I'm making sure I get it pressed back in to keep those beads in place. Okay, so now we're just going to make a nice layer of thread over our lead there. And then I'm going to wrap this up here to the eye. And I'm going to get a little bit of body built up here in front of where the lead ends, so I get a nice smooth transition when I put my legs on here. Okay, I'm not worried about that bead sliding down right now because I'm going to put the legs on and that's all going to be taken care of. Okay, for the legs, I'm using these Hemingway legs. Hemingway legs are very, very nice for this larger style fly. I use the Hemingway on the larger flies and Lively legs on the smaller flies. They work just the same though. I'm going to use all 3 legs on this one instead of just 2 like I normally do on the Lively legs. I'm going to trim off the front and the back and leave very little in front of each of those. And then this will go on top of the lead wire that we have wrapped down. Okay, so there you can see how I trimmed that off. It's more or less just legs. And we're going to lay this on top, right in between the bead and the glass beads, between the brass bead and glass beads. Then we're going to just loosely wrap this down so it all stays in place where we want to. Okay. And once we get it loosely wrapped, we're going to come in with some tighter wraps so it holds where we want it to. And kind of watch pressing up against the legs. It'll pull them out of place a little bit. So just watch where your wraps go. Try not to wrap too close to the leg. It'll twist them around, but you can manipulate them even still. Okay, now I want to bring my thread back to the back, and we're going to put some dubbing on this. Now, match the dubbing to the body. And what I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using some amber SLF dub. I use a lot of this SLF dub in the Prism. This is the Prism 2 box, and the amber color is the one I'm going to be using. It's just like ice dub. You can use whatever color dub you have. It doesn't really have to be ice dub. I just like things flashy. And I'm going to use a little bit of wax and put some of that ice dub on there. Like I said, match it up to the body. Don't change. It's pretty uniform for a stonefly. If it's a dark stonefly, it's all dark. If it's a golden stonefly, it's all yellow with the darker back. But the body, the underbelly is all pretty uniform. So we're just going to wrap this forward and we're going to crisscross back and forth over the back legs on this to start. We're going to make sure we get a nice transition and a lot in between the legs and the bead there. Not too much, but enough that you know it's there. And I need a little bit more than that. I don't go too thick. I like to go thin and build up until I get to the point where I'm at. If you put too much on to start, it's hard to take off. So once I got this all covered top and bottom, I'm going to stop here right behind the second set of legs, and I'm going to put a wing case on. For the wing case, we're using our wing case cutter that you saw me use in most of my other stonefly videos. I'm going to be using that again with some mottled oak thin skin, and I'm just going to take 3 of these off, I punched them out already. I've showed you how to punch them out before. And I'm going to use 3 on this one instead of 2 like I have in some of the other videos, because this is a lot bigger fly. So we're just going to put our first wing case on the back. And I just want it to go just over that back bead, just barely. And then we'll tie it down and wrap in front a little bit. Like I said, watch your wraps that you don't manipulate those legs too much and get them out of place. Then once I got that wrapped on there, you can see how it stands up a little bit. That's okay. I'm going to lay that down here in a second with some more dubbing, because I'm going to put another round of dubbing over the next set of legs. And we're going to do the same thing. So like I said, start out small, or thin on the dubbing, I should say. Okay, and then just crisscross back and forth, and make sure that you cover up a little bit of that wing case so you get it to lay down the way you want. And then get back in front of the legs. So now we're in between the 2 legs with our dubbing, and you can see the underbelly here. I got the underside of both of those legs covered up real well. So now we're going to put our next wing case on. And we're just going to lay it so it just covers up the first one that we put on there. And get a couple wraps on it. I love the natural curve to this hook. It just gives it such a natural look. You know, so many of your hooks are straight and you don't get that natural curve to it, and I feel that with this curve like this, it'll help it roll through the water. If you've ever, you know, turned over rocks and caught a stonefly or a mayfly nymph in your hand, and you dropped it back into water and let it go, it never ever falls straight to the bottom and flat. It always turns upside down and rolls around, and will roll 3 or 4 times before it hits the bottom. With this curved hook, I have a feeling that that's what's happening with it. It gives it that swimming motion like it's going through the water column, just like when you drop one. So that's why I like this curved hook so much on this pattern. I'm going to add just a little bit more here. A little too much, so we're going to take some off. And now I'm going to make sure I got this covered up nice and even here on this last set of legs. Okay, and then we're going to add our last wing case, and we're going to put this in. We're going to lay it down, just covering the last one, like we just did, but we're going to tie it in right behind the bead. Okay, and when you tie this in, it should lay pretty flat on there. And you get 3 or 4 tight wraps. And then what I'm going to do, I'll trim that off, and then I'm just going to make a small collar on here. Just a real thin, small collar, just enough to cover up my thread. I'm not making a hot spot with thread or anything like that. I just want to make a nice tight collar to smooth out the transition there. Alright, and then we're going to whip finish. And that's all that's to it. Now, you can take a black magic marker and hit these legs. Hit the top and bottom side and just put dots all over the legs, and it'll give it that mottled look like the wing case has, which is very natural on this golden stonefly. So I would suggest doing that, just taking a marker and dabbing these legs a little bit. But you don't really have to. That's just something if you really want to get technical and really go overboard on it. But there you can see just how natural looking this is, and how it has that natural movement to it. I really like tying these. These are a lot of fun to tie, and I like the natural lifelike look that I achieve by tying them. So if you're interested in it, give them a try. Like I said, the beads, these are check glass beads, which I picked up at Hobby Lobby. You can look at the different colors. You know, sky's the limit on your color combinations. Play around and have fun. I even tie purple ones for the steelhead guys. Have fun with it. That's what fly tying is all about. Thanks again for watching. Like I said, the material you need to tie this, other than the glass beads, of course, you can find at the shop at holsingersflyshop.com. And please come back. I got some exciting things coming up. We got some new products to show. I'm trying to throw in some how-to tips that'll help make your fly fishing trips easier. And got some guest hires scheduled too. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Sean Holsinger.